great sounds. I want to say thank you for all of you who are here, because that's the first day of the conference, right? And if it was from the first day, it's really a great job for you. So today we will talk about microinteractions. So I heard you hear about this, right? So that's a thing which happens. It's really small thing from all of the interfaces which you're using every day, from the desktop, from the mobile applications, and we will talk further how to implement this. So why that's for you? So you can see that's all my friends, and all of them are programmers. I'm taking the photo, so I'm not on the color, but all of them are programmers and project managers, and I'm only one designer there. So even if you're working in the great team with a designer, probably you, as all of us, have your own projects. And even if you're working with an existing design project and you have all of the buttons and all the things which are created by the designer, designer is not sitting next to you and not saying for you how it should be exactly with all of the steps of the design. So I think it would be helpful for you. So microinteraction starts in the physical world, and I think that's the thing what all of you have in your offices. So that's a coffee machine. And in fact, here only two triggers. One of them is to turn it on, and another to get the coffee. Easy to use, and the button which are making coffee for you is bigger and colorful, because probably you're using it more than turn it on and turn it off. But also you want to see a few more things from this device, right? So you want to hear a sound when your coffee is ready. You want to know device out of water to get your coffee, in fact. And if you need to empty the ground container, you also need to know that, because if it's full, you just do not get the coffee. And if it's going to explode, you need to run away. It also should be some sound, like something bad happened, right? So what you can do more with it, it's personalization. So if we're talking about personalization, it's, for example, what the kind of coffee do you prefer? If it would be 40% of Arabica and 60% Brazilian coffee, or for example, you're not drinking the black coffee until the middle of the day, you prefer, for example, cappuccino on the Friday, and the things like this. So all of this making the whole experience with the coffee machine full and pleasant. So the structure of microinteraction we just told, it was a trigger, so it was the buttons. It was rules what happened when you press the buttons. Feedback, so you will have or sound or coffee. And the loop, so for example, when your coffee is ready, it would be color again, right? So you can use it again. All of you know, and you are all creating the structure of the front pages, right? And all of you are using Bootstrap or something similar, or you already have created a CSS document in which you have all of the hovers, all of the creation structure for example, minimize errors, and the structure how the system should interact with the user, in fact. Yes, so it shows mistakes, it shows some notifications, it shows which elements are active, but it's always good to have something more. So we're talking about this because it was a form. It was to go to the courses about the photography, which I'm joining here in Krakow. And in fact, button is not active. So they have hovers, it's great, they have minimized errors. So if I'm left in some field empty, it's like absolutely clear showing like you need to put it something. But it's a mistake here, and it's zero ways to indicate it for now. So do you have any ideas what I feel wrong here? Any of them?
The button is yellow. It suggests some warning.
No, it's just the design. It's just the kind of design. So the wrong here, this field, and I just need to fill all of them from the very beginning to understand this. And instead of like I wrote here option 2, it should be written like this. So it needs 2 should be as like 2 eyes, like Latin option, right? And only in this case button became active and I can register. Yeah.
Like the question about the knowledge, have even deeper mistake, because if they like expect some answer from you, like some,
they need to have a drop down. Yeah, exactly. But even if they do not have a drop-down, yes, so they do not have an option, it could be indicated somehow. So that's not a clear mistake, because it's no indication like field is empty, but still like I cannot go further. So when we're talking about the trigger, it's a little bit different what you have in the code. So in the code, you have like trigger as a button already pressed, and something should happen. In the design, trigger, it's everything what you can see and everything what brings attention. So for example, time on the smartphone, it's a trigger. If you have color, if you have sound, if you have vibration, all of these are triggers. So just to clarify a vocabulary about like what I would talk further about. It's not working. It's working. Great. So when you can see triggers, doesn't matter how they're situated and on which device they are. All of them could be pressed and take you deeper to the app. So from most discoverables to least, first of this, it's an object which is moving, and in general, it's used only for the really high priority things. For example, when someone is calling for you, or you're recording the video, right? And it's really important for you to know what's happening there. After, it's an object with affordance and the label, so like labeled button, right? You're sure about the form, about the color, about the label. Next, it's an object with a label, like a labeled icon. After, it's an object alone as an icon. A label only, and invisible trigger. Invisible trigger, it's a thing which became really popular now, but you need to know what it should be discoverable or learnable by person based on the previous experience with your app, right? So for example, it could be like when you're flipping the phone, when the ring is ringing, right, to turn it off, or when you're using the Snapchat, for example, and you're scrolling the photos. So it became really popular, and the more you have this on your daily basis apps, the more it would be in the future. This slide I added because lots of the people want to have all of the things already, right? So of course, for now, it's not a trend about this. So if you want to have something in your app, it should be at least like 3-4 buttons. So it shouldn't be like Microsoft Word with lots of the things what you can use if it's not a high specialized program. So if we're talking about the rules, in fact, it's everything what could happen if when you press a button. So I will not take a lot of time for this because you're programming this, right? So button for the programmers, it's just a label for the thing what need to be happen. But before you will have the feedback, right? Before you will have the before you will end the interaction, you need to use a data. And you absolutely shouldn't be the greatest video hoster to make this. Sometimes it could be really pleasant to see. So, for example, you want to do something, right? So the trigger is the field. You press it, and you have the rule. Yes. So, firstly, they like. So this is a suggestion what you need to do. And for example, here, three of the example like how you can help your user, right? So at the fourth square, you can see the button open now. So probably if you're looking for the place exactly for now, you want to press this button. Here you can see the time exactly at the office right now. So if the foreigner will call them, for the site to the university, the students shouldn't nervous like they're ending the recruitation or they're out of office or something. So if it's 2 a.m. at their office, probably they're just sleeping. And the last thing, it's my favorite. So booking agency, travel agency, right? In fact, when you're booking the flight, they recommend to you, like, it's a national holiday. So if you like it, you can join it. But for example, if you will go to the city just to see museums or empty streets or beautiful architecture, if it would be national holiday, probably you would not like to. So it gives to user variations of his decision, right? So if we're talking about the feedback, this is the thing what happened after the rule has done, right? And when people are talking about the feedback in general, they are associated with the last step, right? With the success
message, like you done everything correctly, and congratulations, you're done. But feedback, exactly in the microinteractions, it's all of the things which are coming after you press the button. So it could be notifications, for example, right? And really good way to have it something like not only for the red things, right? But also for the green. So for example, if you're filling the form, it would be really good to know, like, okay, like you put a zip code, I found it, so I found where you live, and I found the city, the country, so you can go further. Standard messages indicates what could be done or what happened already, right? So, but don't think about the feedback only like about the labels or notifications. So all of the things what happened after, like when user going through your navigation, through your UI, all of this is a feedback. Also, when you have a feedback, right, try to humanize it. So not write like that's correct or that's not correct, right? Try to think more about the people and to guide them, not to show mistake. So to guide them before they will press a button like submit, right? And it would be notification like, oh, sorry, we cannot do this. All of the notification what you're using should be on the same flow with the user. And also, when we are talking about the feedback, it's about the pressing the buttons. So, for example, I want to select a song. I have a whole album, right? I want to select something in the Google, and I have results. And after, like when I'm using my fitness bracelet, I want to see like whole statistics. And what I really do not like, it's something like this. And it's really popular when the people use it in the notifications for the, not only for the site, but also, for example, for the apps, for the notifications in the phone, just in errors. So all of these things, in fact, are not really usable for me, but they're big and they're red. So probably if I cannot log in, I can make another account. I can like re-register about this. If it's a network error, okay, just wait for it, and so, like I will find some error. Like our world is full of the Wi-Fi, and if it's just like an error message because of an error message, like I'm sorry, but I just do not like to see this. So all of the notifications, what you can do should be. It's really it's not a should be, but it's really good attitude to be some small and light colored. So doesn't matter what color your design, right? So of course, if your design are red, so notifications also could be red. But in general, it would be really nice. It would be small and correlated with your design. Really, one thing when you need to use and you need to stress user, it's the thing when something really bad happened. So it could be problems with data, it could be problems with a device, it could be problems, for example, if you cannot restore a backup, right? So this is only way when you need to stress the user and to make him really think about what he will do further and probably prevent it. If we're talking in general about the feedbacks, slot machines, it's one of the things which are really great about this. So when you think about the Slack machines, it's all together. It's a vibration, it's a sound, it's a lights, and only one thing which like really absolutely situated to them, they're making it faster. So the longer you're sitting there, each new loop when you're putting the coin inside, making it faster. So lights became brighter, music became louder, so you really feel a hero about about this. So you're playing there, and each time you have so much pleasure about your putting a coin, but lots of the people just never left it. So this is the principle on which based lots of the apps for now. They're giving so nice feedback to the user, and it's so big pleasure to work with these apps, even if it's not working correctly. People are still using them because they like to interact with it. So the last thing what we have, it's loops and long loops. So user pressed the button, he got a notification or a next page, doesn't matter. And what would happen next time when he will return to the same page? So Instagram makes it like follow back when someone followed you, right? So all of this, it's new experience for the user after he gets something. Oh, So each time you return into the app, you would like the app to recognize you. Some of the people don't really like this because they prefer make it anonymous, right? But they just put something this. But when you're playing the games and you have something like back commander, it's really also engage a pleasure for you. And it makes, so each next time when you will return to this app, it would be really nice to have the same experience. So welcome back. And name, in general, it's a really nice positive experience, and more than 20% of the users really became to the app just because it knows their names. So it's really easy, it's quite obvious, but it works. When you're using the data as the name of the follower, it's not only the data, right? So, for example, this is the thing which are like making me crazy each time. So when you're checking in, doesn't matter on which airplane, right? You need to put all of the data together. It's named by the security reasons, a name because they cannot collect the passport data and else. But I really hope that one day I will really like before the 24 hours before my flight, I will get an SMS with some text like, okay, that's 24 hours to your flight. Here's a link. So I'm following the link, I'm pressing the button check-in, and I'm waiting for the flight. So I shouldn't like, so they have minutes and a half video of how to make your check-in. And of course, so like exactly this example, it's about lots of the things, yeah, right? About the laws, about the things which need to create it in the lots of the countries. But I still hope that like one day it became really easy for everyone. When you're using the data, exactly like with a example with a Ryanair, right? All of the personal data which you have, you should really use wisely. Because if we're talking about the, for example, check-in, right? So you have lots of things inside. You have passport number, you have ID number, you have everything else. But this Twitter, it was put on the Twitter a year ago. And lots of the people just were crazy about this. And in fact, it's ended like they deleted it. 53 people who's watched A Christmas Prince. Is this personal information? Is this something like really recognizable for the people? But it became really so, and people was really angry. Like it was a private, it was a personal data. So it wasn't an ID, it wasn't the numbers like medical numbers, insurances or something like this, but 80 days per each day, it was enough for the society to really become angry about this. And so you need to use data, but you really need to think about how to use it, how to interact with the user, exactly the same amount of, so to make it pleasant, but not fear for the user. Probably you heard about this, it's about the robots. So that's Uncanny Valley. And really people like Wally, people like Eva, yes, they really like the smart, nice, quiet robots until they're not really like a humans. Because when they became really similar to a human and you are not sure who near you, like a human or a robot, lots of the people just became angry, like from the inside. They cannot say like, so they understand that's a robot because this was presented to them, but it's still lots of the negative emotions. And the same could be made for the data, right? So I made this just to give you understanding of this. This is not like real data from the real society experiments, but it became really popular, and I'm waiting like really some of the universities was made this. So, and the deepest point in the volley for now, that's a personal behavior. So if really your coffee machine will say something like, hey, you was drinking 2 cups coffee instead of 4, do you really fall in love with your neighbor? Something like this, you will be really afraid about this. And you do not like what machine would act like this. So when you're using the data, of course, yeah. Sometimes it's a nice thing, but lots of the people are really nervous, especially if they're not close to the IT world, right? So the closest you are, the more you understand how the things are working. But for the general people, even if, for example, you will listen like some of the songs on the Spotify, right? And some of like boyfriend, which was like your boyfriend, like at the high school, will listen the same song, and after he will the Spotify will say to you like, hey, this person was listening the same song, so probably you will like it. That's a little bit creepy. So for now, it's really hard to say which of the data would prevent this, but you need just to know this fact and try to prevent it. So why do you still to care about small things in your product if your product getting things done? Because lots of the people who is creating the things are absolutely sure and they are absolutely right, like the things just should be done, and all of the small things like a design colors, like a construction of the page, like the notifications there, that's okay to have them, but it's also not absolutely okay not to have them. And the answer for this, it's human expectations. So people are living in a really great world for them. And lots of the teenagers for now in the States, in the last year, they said they not understand why does McDonald's was named fast food, because you need to wait more than 5 minutes. It's not fast, sorry. And people are not okay when the Wi-Fi is a little bit lower speed than they're expecting, but they cannot use the Wi-Fi on the planes. So people are really loves the technologies and they love to use it. And if you will have just the app which will just create for their work, it's great until someone else would not create absolutely the same app, but it would smile at the beginning and would call their names and would give notifications like, hey, check this, probably it's not correct, and people would really use this. So I prevent really nice products to engage it from the very beginning. So what I want you to remember from these talks, keep the structure of Microinteractions. So if you have notifications, it's great, but also think about this, what something should be returned, right? So it should be loops of this. For the triggers and rules are quite okay, but when we're talking about the feedback, keep it as light as it possible. So do not stress user. Make feedback for humans, right? Not just, sorry, that's an error, but something more about this. Emergency stress only, so not make something really hard, contrast, red, brighter colors if you really do not need it. And don't be creepy, because everyone likes nice guys. That works. And that's it from my side. Do you have any questions about this? Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just talk it without the microphone because
It will be easier.
no problem. Okay. So yeah, you've been talking about this validation errors. I wasn't diving into this lately, but I know this it's been kind of developed, and I'm talking about the native forms validation in the browser.
Mm-hmm.
What is actual state of them? How are they usable? I mean, I saw it on one of the forms that you were presenting. It was, I believe, Dropbox form, which showed native browser validation error. How they are usable actually now? Can we just use them? And what are caveats? What can you say about this?
All of the libraries which were created, so more than 5 years ago, we didn't have even the Bootstrap, right? So all of the libraries, they're getting much more modern. They have new generation of these libraries. And for sure, if you're using just the standard libraries, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. That's much better than nothing. And probably in the few years, it would be just great. Yes, because it's some level of the things which we're expecting from the notifications. And just I think people would engage it to create for the basis developers, right? And we will have it in the browsers. I just want you to think about this. So not just collect the libraries which you already have and put it to the side, but just with your friend or colleague went through it and see what the gaps in these notifications. So probably it's okay to have them, but sometimes it's really nice would be, for example, to have few of them. So you can put few of them and just write try this before it would be a red notification. just to prevent it. But I really like the idea what all of this would be standardized, right? And we will really need to keep only about the idea of the product and visual graphics, and that's all. Yeah.
I just want to ask about, because right now the push notifications become very popular, push notification in browsers and in phones as well. So what do you think about this? So is it a good tool to notify user about something, or we should be careful with that?
It depends on the notification. So for example, if you have in a row 5 notification like, great, you're connected to Wi-Fi, probably user will not really care about this. But if it would be a notification like, great, you went through something and the form was submitted, for example, yes, so it would be just label about this. But what I'm really afraid of this, it's lots of them exactly like red color, which I showed in the previous slides. So care about the style of it. It shouldn't like be exactly like pixel by pixel, perfect color, perfect icons, but just even if it's a red color, try to make it softer. But better, always better to use something like orange or yellow, but not red. But like push notifications, it's a trend, and we cannot know what would be in a year, for example. Anyone else? Okay, so thank you. Thank you for all of you.